Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. If you are just tuning in, my special guest today, Dr. Angie McCartney and Ruth McCartney.
Thank you.
So, welcome back, you two. Nice to talk. So nice to be talking to you about Mrs. McCartney's Teas.com and all of the other amazing things the two of you are doing together. Do you enjoy working together? Obviously, you do.
Oh,
What makes
yeah.
it, yeah, what makes it magic?
Oh, I don't know. When I'm waking up in the mornings, I live downstairs and Ruth and Martin live upstairs in the same building. And I always send her an email as soon as I'm waking up, just saying MUP, M-U-P, MUP.
And I go,
Oh,
thank God, today's not the day.
Yeah, she's still here.
Mop being I'm up. Is
Yeah.
that what that sounds for?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm up. Mup.
MUP.
Mop.
Yep.
I don't know. We've never really known any different, have we?
No,
Yeah.
Martin, my husband always says he didn't get the fine print when he started dating me. You buy one, you get one, a half one free, because she's
That's a bonus. I'm sure he feels that way too. Bonus.
Some days, yeah.
Yeah, most of the time.
Depends if it's a company meeting and we're holding a shareholder vote, because he's the majority shareholder. He has 49% of the business because he's the man, he's the president, he's the boss. I have 26% and Ange has 25%, but between us, that makes 51.
Hostile takeover.
see, that's how
McCartney's organic teas.
That's how you qualify for being called a woman minority owned business.
Yeah.
And in some quarters, in some companies who support DEI still, there are tenders out for business that must be given or given consideration to minority owned businesses. So McCartney Multimedia is 51% woman owned, but he's still the boss because he has 49%. So if he gets her to vote with him on something, I'm screwed.
It works very well.
Yeah, works both ways.
It's never not worked. 30 years.
Don't make your mom mad. Don't make your husband or your mom mad. That's just a good way to live life, right? It's a good rule.
No, I try not to.
No, she makes all of us mad.
I make them both breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so that doesn't make them mad.
Yeah, you get back on their good side there. I would look forward to that. You make great egg salad sandwiches. What else do you make that's really great?
Oh boy, Hungarian goulash. The only thing I don't make is sushi. I'll make everything else. Sushi is just, you have to have the right knife, the right cut, the right vinegar, the right rice, all of that. Because as you know from previous experience, I handle a bunch of chefs who are anywhere from Michelin star to James Beard winners. And so I don't profess to be a chef, but that's my passion. I do love to cook. And so I'll have a crack at anything.
And go out and eat, I imagine. Although they're a little bit out of your state, but I'm sure that's fun too. Make the travel. How did you get into that, Ruth?
Well, a friend of ours. So back to Steve Tyrell, the way he looked tonight. Steve Tyrell was introduced to me by a gentleman called Barry Coffing, who runs musicsupervisor.com, another person you should have on the show. And We Get Music, which is an indie streaming service that's going to hopefully put Spotify on notice. And Barry lives and works in Houston, and he curated the soundtrack for Chef David Skinner's Choctaw Ishtia restaurant in Kemah, Texas. And Chef David Skinner introduced me to Chef G, Best Chef Texas James Beard, who introduced me to Chef Mayank and Me Too and Shami, who own Musafir, who just got their first.
I love them.
And they all need PR. So the way we approach it at McCartney Multimedia is I manage media for culinary people like the same way I've done for rock stars and pop stars my whole life. You build a brand, you build a fan club, you say what you mean what you say, and you get there 15 minutes early and you blow everyone's doors off.
And that you do, that is for sure. And you've got some great companies. And we've been just recently talking about Mrs. McCartney's organic teas. I understand, Angie, that you and John Lennon used to have tea together quite often. Is that true?
Yes, sometimes Paul would bring him home to Rembrandt for the weekend when John didn't have a home on Merseyside any longer. After he
What would you make those guys for tea?
Well, I just
tea and toast.
Tea and toast or tea and digestive biscuits. Suggestive biscuits, I used to call them. And no, I think the thing you're referring to is a time when Jim and Paul and John Lennon were all in the lounge having tea. And I was out in the kitchen doing what mothers do, you know, washing up and bustling about. And I went back in and said, any more for tea? And John didn't look up, but he just went, and waggled his cup and saucer at me over his shoulder. And I was incensed. I said, excuse me. And as I did that, Jim and Paul both went, don't talk to John.
Don't waggle your cup.
To hell with that, I do. I said, if you don't mind, we have a little word here, please. Because I was trying to, you know, bring up my little girl to have good manners. And he said, oh, sorry, Ange. And I just made the tea. And that was the end of that. But years later, Cynthia, his first wife, said to me, John really respected you. And he was a little bit scared of you for the way you handled him when he waggled his teacup at you. And I said, well, you know, I have the greatest admiration for him and his artistry and his work and his music and his books. But nobody's going to waggle a teacup at me. And it was just one of those little things. It didn't mean much to me, but somehow it sort of lived on in memory.
Don't go waggle your cup.
I
won't go waggle my cup.
I like that. I bet he never forgot that lesson, ever.
Probably not. Hopefully
Ever.
not.
One of those things that stuck in his mind.
Yeah.
So there's tea etiquette. We keep kind of circling around it. What are the finer points we should know?
Well, if you're going to make it in a pot of tea, I mean, I
Which
know a
you
lot
should.
of you you should. Yes, so to obtain
tea hot, first warm your
pot. So while you've got the kettle on and while it's getting warm, put some of that hot water into the teapot and let it warm the surface, which in turn, when you actually make the tea, accepts it better and makes it
bloom.
Bloom, that's right, bloom, that's the word.
Bialystock bloom.
And but I know we all live in a world of tea bags and dunking it in the cup and so on. But even with that, if you warm your cup have your nice china cup for preference, warm it with a drop of hot water while you're waiting for the kettle to really boil. It gives a different.
And for God's sake, don't make it with tepid water in an office out of one of those hot and cold water drinking machines.
No,
because I will be forced to take you aside and have a word.
Yes, ma'am. No, we'll not do that.
And don't raise your pinky finger.
Oh, no.
You mentioned that earlier. So I wouldn't do that anyway, but
no,
put the pinky down.
Why is that? Just because it's I don't know.
I don't know. I think
it's just an affectation. The Queen, you never saw the Queen doing it, right? Oh, hello. That was a weird one.
I wonder what
it's okay.
is.
It's my keyboard.
Oh,
I just moved something. Sorry.
Oh.
So yeah, you would never see the Queen doing, the pinky thing. And when you stir a cup of tea, you don't make excess noise with your teaspoon and the cup. You don't want to clang to wake the neighbors. You actually want to take the spoon and move it forward and move it back and move it forward and move it back.
Why is that?
Just because swirling the tea, if you put milk and sugar in it, the tannins move in a really weird way. If you move it very gently forward and back, you'll just get a better cup of tea.
Good to know.
Said she who drinks wine from a box.
No, there's things like that, in the bar business. There's bartenders told me when they stir a martini, you never stir more than 14 times, and you stir with a certain type of stick. And there are little rules, for food and the alchemy and the food and drink.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of that in the book. All you need is tea.
Oh, yep. My recipe book, which if you
Angie, you sell that book so well.
Oh, really good.
With a little help from my friends.
Pick that book up. I love the facts and the little. So tell me a story. Do you have a favorite tea story from history or from the Queen or someone that was at your table that you made tea for? Is there a story that you like to tell?
I think my favorite tea story is when in the final days of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, she agreed to be filmed with Paddington Bear and get a marmalade sandwich out of that famous handbag.
Have you seen that film?
That film
clip?
Absolutely.
I don't think I have. I don't know. I don't remember that.
Oh, I'll send you a link to it. It's wonderful.
Google the Queen and Paddington Bear and marmalade sandwich and tea. So she was a stickler for her tea and her cucumber sandwiches with the crusts cut off. And Paddington Bear is, of course, the famous Paddington Bear. And at the Jubilee, wouldn't be the Jubilee, whatever was the final big celebration that she was able to appear at. She did, they didn't want her out in the sun and the rain and whatever so long. So they brought Paddington Bear in, and it was the intro to, I'm going to have to use a pen or a pencil. It was the intro to the celebration out on the mall, which was, Paddington had tea, the Queen had tea. They do this whole bit with Paddington's marmalade sandwich, and the Queen on her saucer goes, and the crowd outside sings, "We will
rock you."
And so they literally had Her Majesty lead off the song and the celebration with a cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that. I'm going to see if I can find that.
It doesn't get better than that,
No.
Yeah. Well, Angie, I wanted to ask you, because I'm so interested and enthralled by your being such an entrepreneur and a writer and so prolific and creative. And I wanted to ask you a couple questions to get a couple secrets, if I could, from you, and your secrets of your methods of your madness.
Try me.
She charges 1 Bitcoin per question, but go ahead.
Oh, do you? Okay. Well, I've got a couple of Bitcoins. Do you take, what are those other ones called? The
Ethereum, Sol.
Yeah, or the and the paintings. What do you call that?
XRP. Oh, NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah.
NFTs.
Thank you.
Non-fungible tokens. Yeah, I know what that means.
She actually doesn't know what NFTs are.
Yeah.
And I'll stop you if I can't afford, if you've gone over my budget. I'll stop you if you don't mind. But I think we should share these if we could. And Ruth, I know you can contribute to these questions as well. But do you give advice on survival and surviving the days, the years, the hours, the business? Do you have certain tricks that survival
it's not a trick, it's an attitude of every morning when I start to waken up. I'm 95 now, and as I begin to waken up, my first thought is, oh, thank God it's another day. I'm in a warm bed.
Indoors.
Indoors, yes, not outdoors.
Not under a bridge.
Yeah, not under a bridge. I've got people that love me.
Got your eyesight.
I've got my eyesight, I've got my sense of humor, and I can get up and walk. And some days I walk better than others. But I'm just thankful for what I've got. And most of my senses, or some of them, are working, and I'm just thankful.
And the rest of the stuff that you deal with at 95, it's just a barrel of monkeys, and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And what have you learned in business that is helpful for you, or helpful for others that are starting out?
I've learned to trust my gut. You know, when you first meet somebody, when you open the door and they're there, always remember your reaction that very second. Mm-hmm. If I'd lived my life hanging on to that, my life would have been very different. However, what's past is past. I believe in looking forward. I mean, yesterday is history. Today is still a mystery. But what a day it's going to be tomorrow.
That's beautiful. Good advice. Then the last question I have, you've said that you're interested in everything and everybody. How does that help you? How does that play into growth and
I think
living?
Particularly now in these days of social media, and I know a lot of it is crap. Am I allowed to say crap? I just did.
You're allowed. You're allowed anything you want to do.
Oh, watch out now. Look out now. But I'm able to keep in touch with friends and family all around the world. Got lots of relatives in Australia, some in England, few in Germany, and I'm able to be in touch with them every day or every week if I want to. We share little jokes, I send funny things out, and things that I would only share with certain people, but it just helps you to keep alert and remember your roots and remember your family and where you came from and hopefully where you're going. I'm not done yet.
And if you look at Angie's Instagram at Mrs. McCartney's Teas, MRS McCartney's Teas, you immediately will get her if you just look at the wall. It's the Queen, it's Paddington, it's John Cleese, it's Monty Python, it's the Beatles, it's Tea, it's Mick Jagger, it's funny stuff, it's crap about getting old. It's she curates her own at 95, her own Instagram and her own Facebook, which I think is a remarkable feat in getting not only the technology, for God's sake, but the brand, and trying to pay it forward and bring a smile to everybody every day. That's what she does. You know, she sends me the most ridiculous emails at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. We have a editing suite and studio upstairs, and I'll be working away something early morning, and I haven't come down for my first cup of tea yet. And yesterday she sent me something like, oh, you might want to look at buying more Bitcoin. It's in the crapper, but not surprising because of, you know, X, Y, and Z or whatever. Lots of love from your uber observant, short elderly person who lives in the rear of the property. Who gets emails from 95-year-olds like that? You know,
you do.
I save every one of them.
She does.
That brings up I love that she's your financial advisor for Bitcoin.
That's actually Martin. He'll tell me when to buy, and well, I've never sold. I've only ever bought, and we started buying Bitcoin when it was $4,000. So, ta-da!
Oh, you've probably done well. I won't make you verify.
We've done all right. No, the taxman knows we've done all right.
So it's up and down. It's up and down like a tart's keks.
Yeah.
And keks
hold on to it.
Do you know what tarts keks are?
Do you know what a tart is?
No, I don't.
A woman of
loose morals. A tart is a woman of morals, and her keks are her underwear. So she just said Bitcoin's up and down like a tart.
Down like a tart's keks.
I'm gonna have to use that one.
The Salisbury listeners will get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so question about the technology, Angie. Do you and Ruth, you have been, like I said in the beginning, you've been in the forefront of blazing these trails and teaching people how to use it, building websites, building social media, building brands. You know, before there was an iPhone, before there was a Facebook, an Instagram, TikTok, and all the rest, you've been there from the beginning and helped many people navigate and build this. And then Angie, it sounds like you're keeping up with it as well. Does that keep?
I learn a lot from Ruth and Martin. I'm not as adept at it as they are, of course.
But does that keep you like energized?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Learning, constantly learning and like grasping something new.
Well, I hope to learn something every day, and I do. Yeah.
That's amazing, because I get frustrated with technology, and
yes,
I've kind of grown up with it, but I get stumped, and I there's days when I'm down because I can't get past something, and it sounds like.
Oh, I know.
I never thought about doing this before, Jeremiah, until your question, but I just Googled Mark Zuckerberg date of birth, May 14th, 1984, right? When on or about, Mark Zuckerberg was still 9 when I built the first website I built. He was 9. Does that tell you how long I've been doing it and how old we are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in April of 1994 in Nashville, we launched our first website that we built for a client. And then soon thereafter, we built andrewgold.com, davidcassidy.com. I came by happenstance a bunch of domain names, including McCartney.com. So we kept that one. We gave a bunch away, or we gave them to their rightful owners for $50, which is how we built the business. We went around Hollywood. And
nobody knew how to do that at all.
No, I mean, David Cassidy said to me, well, what's a .com and why would I want one? That's the same, you know, we still have McCartney.com. It's my email address, my first name at my last name.com. And when we wrangled it back, I sent a fax. It tells you how long ago it was. I sent a fax to MPL's law firm, my brother's law firm, and because he doesn't want to be bothered with all that stuff, I'm sure. in New York saying, we've come by McCartney.com. I paid $50 for it. Would you like it? Well, I'm just looking for the reimbursement for $50 because I don't want to be out of pocket because I had a whole bunch of hassle to get the name. And I got a fax back from the law firm essentially saying, what's a .com? What's a web page? Why would we want one? And why are you trying to shake us down for $50? So I kept it. Okay, so there you go. And Mark Zuckerberg.
Now it's going to cost you $5,000 when you want it.
5? Oh my
Five.
God, no, it's worth about $500,000.
Wow.
So,
You're both very smart. I'm just going to follow what you do.
Yeah,
By the
I
way,
would.
no, I don't
Yeah,
know. We bought through our wonderful friend Jothan, who has specialized domain stuff. We bought McCartney.ai. And we're building, as you know, the verified voice vault to stop famous voices getting ripped off by AI. So that's another project we're working on. But domain names, people should think about them as virtual real estate.
Yeah.
One of our guests on TeaFlix today from Distinctive Assets, the wonderful Lash Ferry, he owns fabulousgifts.com. It's worth tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So he's not doing anything with it. I'm like, let's build something. He puts all the the gift baskets together for the Grammys and the American music. He's somebody else you should have on.
Oh yeah.
He's fascinating.
Send him to me. I'm into it.
He's fabulous. And so, these people just, I don't know, they come across the Rolodex, they come across the screen. And if I like you and I trust you as I do with you, because you came through Mike Gormley, who's made of gold, let's just all keep the love going and try and do stuff together to make the world a better place. I know
Sorry. Well, where do you see things going, Ruth? I mean, you're working on some really great, like you said, the AI, I forget what it's called. Sorry. The voice vault for AI and you're working on things, you're helping children, secure their identity. Where do you see things going in the future? Do you have any predictions on technology and where it's going? What's next for us?
Well, Ray Kurzweil, I am certainly not, but I think as a society, we've always valued the filling of the sandwich, the egg salad, if you will, and undervalued the bread, right? And I think going forward with AI and then quantum computing, and God forbid the day they all collide, especially with AI agents who are able to complete tasks on their own without being prompted, I think the bread is going to be the most important part of the career sandwich. There'll still be need for the filler, for the middle, but we need the plumbers, the HVAC people, pilots to fly planes, although, we have autopilot. We need skilled nursing professionals. We're going to need medical people. And then on the other side of things, we're going to need the organic type of people who are, chefs who create experiences and tastes and sounds and sensations to work with AI prompt engineers and people in high technology. What I fear is all of the middle ground of, consulting. I don't even want to pick out any kind of given, career. But so much of the stuff that was the filling of the sandwich that can be replaced by a machine is what I'm fearful of. And that's why I'm trying to work with clients at the moment to see where are kids going to be able to make a sustainable, healthy future, not just for themselves and their families, because we're 8 billion people now. We're going to be 10 billion people. We're running out of fresh water. We knew that. Certain sectors of society are saying that you're a failure if you don't have 10 or 12 kids. I have 0 kids. That should tell you where I live, where I believe. I just think that we need, as a society, to figure out, do we all still want to live on planet Earth? And if we do, we need to work together and forget political differences, gendered bias, religious differences, or whatever. Because if this is our home that's spinning through space at 1,153 miles an hour, we're going to have to take care of it. And if technology will help us, let's use it for the good.
Well said. TeaFlix Tuesdays. Don't miss Dr. Angie McCarthy's TeaFlix Tuesdays chat show with fascinating guests from the Beatles world, pop culture, philosophy, chefs, authors, artists, and more. Co-host Ruth McCartney. Go to Dr. Angie McCartney's website. It's Mrs. McCartney's Teas. Get Mrs. McCartney's Teas.com. Get all the teas there. A percentage of the company's profits will be donated to the Linda McCartney Breast Cancer Center. The latest book from Angie McCartney and Ruth McCartney. There are faces I remember. There are faces I remember.com. We'll be right back. We're going to listen to, on the way out here, Nick Black music, Bigger Than Me. And we're going to come back with a song. Did you know Ruth was a singer? Ruth McCartney. She was a pop star. This song is called The Heart Hostage. And that's when we come back. We'll be back, our final break, right after this.